There's a little bit of contrarianism out there now. This Trump bump, people are saying, may not all be due to President Trump. And in fairness, they were saying that from the very start. Consumer confidence had been rising, the economic data was getting better, earnings were not terribly depressing.
Right. So when you talk about the Trump bump, you're talking about this essentially Trump's private bull market that he's had. The stocks are up. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 20% on a futures basis from the night right after the election when things kind of cratered to a multi-month low through yesterday's close. So that's something that you can see on a chart here. But you're correct. People are starting to maybe discredit a little bit the role that he's played in this so-called bull market. And the reason being, economic growth has been getting much better, as you mentioned, and also earnings growth. Probably the biggest driver of stock gains in the stock market has been expanding actually since last March. So there's a lot of people that I've talked to that say it doesn't matter who would have won the election, anyone would have inherited this sort of Trump bump.
Yes, but it's very difficult to talk counterfactuals. But if it had been somebody else, Hillary, for example, or somebody else, are you really confident in saying that we'd see exactly what we saw, that line going straight up? I mean, he talked business-friendly regulations, lowering corporate taxes, getting rid of expensive Obamacare, as he calls it. So,
So even the most ardent supporters of that argument would agree with you, and they would say that maybe in November and then into year-end, there's a built-in gain there because there was uncertainty that needed to shake out regardless of victor. However, you do make a good point about sort of these pro-business policies that Trump has proposed, the infrastructure spending, this tax reform in terms of the repatriation of overseas cash. These are all things that are viewed as extremely bullish for the industries that are most closely touched by them. So that's definitely playing a role. So I'd say that the most prevailing wisdom at this point is that there's sort of a combination of the two going on, both sort of this built-in earnings driver as well as the policies that we're actually expected to get more clarity on next Tuesday.
Well, let me ask you this then. Is there something he could say that would, be his own downfall, if you like? Because he's been taking credit for the stock market and indeed the Treasury bull market as well. Could he say something on Tuesday or even before then about Europe, let's say, or about something else that might actually cause this bubble to pop? I'm using bubble in a very obviously lightweight way.
This Trump bump or bull market, as we're calling it. Yes, and Tuesday there's a lot riding on that. He could come out and say something like infrastructure spending is not going to be ramping up until next year, maybe the year after. And that's something that actually dragged infrastructure stocks down earlier this week when we got a little guidance that maybe that wouldn't be going into play until about 2018. Also, Trump is. He could say something to the effect of, that people don't like about the border tax or about this repatriation thing. I mean, the repatriation break that he's proposing is a huge one. The rate is 35% right now. He's talking about cutting it down to 10 or 15%. That's that would be pretty bullish for these companies, these tech companies.
Joe, what's his incentive to say anything on Tuesday?
That's an excellent point as well. One person, actually more than one people that I've talked to have said his best bet would just be to kick the can down the road a little bit more, to not really give any clarity, to stay vague. And while that would kind of tick off people that have really been banking on Tuesday as sort of his quasi State of the Union, where he was really going to kind of put everything out there, it's entirely possible that we won't get that, and that these trades will continue to progress.